Hello, my name is Paulo Watkins Salado and I am here to report about writing the summary of findings, conclusions, and recommendations. Now, to start off, let us start with the definition of terms. Let's start with the words findings. Now, findings is a conclusion reached as a result of an inquiry, investigation, or trial. Meanwhile, conclusions is the end or a finish of an event or process. Recommendations, a suggestion or proposal as to the best course of action, especially one put forward by an authoritative body. Now let's start our report by the summary of findings. Now, the summary of findings, this presents a significant findings of the research because it is again the summary of what you have found so far throughout your entire research. And for the sake of clarity of your presentation, the findings may be written record to the specific research problems that the study intends to address. This refers to our statement of the problem made from the very first part. And because this is a summary of what you have found so far, it must be clear of what the problem is and the solution you intend to find. Third, the findings need to be explained in detail as the discussion section has already been provided under the results of the section of the research per area. Now, because again, it's already stated in the research problem, so all you have to do is to find the findings or the results and then make a little summary of that. Also, finally, the findings should be stated as now, to have an example, let us have this example. For the context, it is planning for a tranquil space of rural destinations through the mixed methods. And the highlights of the study would be these four. It advocates the use of MMR in addressing industry issues. MMR facilitates extensive access to visitors, residents, and authorities. It exemplifies the use of MMR in mapping tranquility as a project planning tool, and it demonstrates the usefulness of MMR to planning authorities and heritage organizations. Now, to proceed on, which is drawing conclusions, this would be the three main objectives. Conclusions are inferences, deductions, abstractions, and implications, interpretations, general statements, and or generalization based on the findings. These four or these statements or words are basically the thing that defines a conclusion on how you want it to come out. Now for the second dot, it would be the conclusion should be adequately answer the specific problem question in the order in which they appear in the statement. Now, as stated back before in the video, that there is a statement of the problem. Now here actually you are to find the answer to, like, the final answer to how the statement of the problem is about to happen, whether that be successful or unsuccessful. Now third, the study becomes almost meaningless if the research questions are not properly answered. Now this is because if you have a question like, can air lift something up, and then by the end, and then your conclusion is that something else, like when air reaches water or something like that. Now for our example, now as stated in the previous part where you draw conclusions, now let's on our example, let's say our problem is that can you make fire out of water, and then after a thorough scientific process we can conclude that no, you cannot, because, like example, we conclude that due to their chemical compounds, basic H2O does not have the properties necessary to start a single fire. Now this correlates with the original statement of the problem, and by giving it an obvious answer that also correlates with the statement of problem, because main point is that you should answer the statement of the problems that the conclusions are. Yeah, that's basically just it. The conclusions are just the answers of the statement of the problems. Now that the both previous parts are now explained, let us proceed to the final part, which is writing the recommendations. Now, when writing a recommendation, this needs to be done after the conclusion has been formulated. So it basically means that it is now the end part of your research. This now this again from stated before, this section is written after you have formulated your conclusion. Now to proceed on, here the research study provides suggestions for future research undertakings about topics related to to their two, which basically means that the recommendation provides that to those who wants to follow by your footsteps, or those who are interested to follow upon your research, they are able to use yours as a guide towards their own, while also giving yours credit. Now, you may suggest points in the research of the study where adjustments or improvements can be made to collect more better data. Now, as stated before, this is a part where you recommend someone, like whether you recommend them to not use this method but instead use the other method. Also, this is part where you recommend someone to either show them a better solution to a topic, or otherwise just show them how to do it, or better yet, let them or give them hints on how to properly do it so that they can learn on their own. Proceed upon. Moreover, writing recommendations can provide a springboard for future research that the study was not able to address. Now, this means that for those who are following your footsteps, that are using yours as a format, they are able to address your problems in your research and making theirs complete, in a sense that they are not to follow on your mistakes. Next, that would mean that the study recommends can also suggest if the results thereof have certain implications with respect to public policy and societal problems. Now, this means that the recommendation can also correlate with current issues, like on how things are going on with like societal problems or respect to public policy. Now, we shall continue to our example. As stated, a recommendation can be a follow-up or maybe something. So here's an example. The current study can be interpreted as the first step in the research of COPD speech characteristics. However, the results of this study should be treated with caution due to the small sample size and lack with details regarding the participants' characteristics. Again, as stated, this is a recommendation on how you are about to approach it. They mention it on how it's gonna be hard, and how we should, when approaching this type of research, you should be aware on what to do. Furthermore, future researchers could further examine the differences in speech characteristics between exacerbated COPD patients, stable COPD patients, and healthy controls. It could also contribute to a deeper understanding to acoustic measurements suitable for e-health measurements. Now, in the second statement, it is trying to show itself as a way where society can benefit at this time, like how each COPD that affects one another, and like when exacerbated patients have it, when stable patients have it, and while when a healthy person controls it. Now, that would be all for today's report. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it informative, and I'll see you next time.